Hi, my name is Christina Ritter. For anyone I haven't met so far in this group, I think that before this course and starting to do these readings, I would have defined social justice as just the general term that means within our society the equal treatment and the equal opportunity for all people regardless of their differences in terms of wealth, in terms of job opportunities, in terms of treatment by other people, by other organizations. And I think after reading this now, it seems to me that social justice is the term that encompasses all of the things that prevent us from having a just society, and sort of it encompasses all of those negative factors that we still have not been able to work through as a society in terms of there being inequality for different groups that are marginalized. I thought it was really interesting in those two videos from the man that he said some people don't believe in social justice, that concept can't exist because if there isn't anyone to blame for it, specifically, how could it be unjust? How could anyone be at fault if there isn't a single group or corporation or person who is at fault? And so that fascinated me and kind of had me scratching my head for a few seconds because I didn't realize that it was even a debatable topic. Is social justice, you know, is it something that we can argue about, I guess? And so he also mentioned that depending on what kind of liberal you are, you might think, well, how can there be social injustice in terms of wealth when people are choosing how to accumulate wealth? If you're choosing to live in Nebraska or California, if you're choosing to go to nursing school or to work your minimum wage job. So if you can't point the finger and blame someone or some entity for your personal level of wealth, how can that be an example of injustice? I thought that was an interesting topic to think about more throughout the course of this semester. As far as things like diversity and inclusion, I don't think that those are synonymous. To me, diversity is the differences of all of these different groups of people, and that, you know, hopefully throughout time we can learn that there shouldn't be a norm. It shouldn't be, here's a white heterosexual male and all of the outliers of African American, transgender, military affiliated, you know, the elderly, and that in diversity is learning to appreciate all of those different differences in people, and that inclusion is bringing everyone into one category and taking all of these outliers and not making them outliers anymore, and realizing that we shouldn't have a norm and then here's all the marginalized populations. Who says that white and heterosexual are the norm or the right way or, you know, the predominant group? After taking that little activity quiz, my most salient identifiers were my gender and sexual orientation, my level of education, my socioeconomic status. Those were my big ones. So I thought it would be interesting to try to look more into gender identity and kind of in conjunction with sexual orientation. I realize those are not synonymous terms, but I think it's interesting, especially with a lot of things we're seeing lately in the media about gender identity, to sort of study those two and how they may go together or may not go together within our society right now. I think that, for example, the trans population is becoming much more visible, and I think that it's getting a lot of attention, and I think society is beginning to accept that this has always been there, but people are finally now speaking out about it. So I just have a personal interest in that, as my gender identity, I feel like, is a very strong part of who I am, and so I think it would be interesting to learn about the struggle that other people go through in these marginalized groups, who maybe have a different gender identity than what is considered the norm. I'm kind of looking forward to reading more because I actually was just really intrigued by these readings and learning about how we can deconstruct some of these things that we have ourselves socially constructed and all of these viewpoints. I believe I've touched on all the major things we were supposed to talk about, but I look forward to hearing what you guys want to study for your project, and that's it. Have a great night.